Alright, a lot of you guys got that MST RMX 2.5 RTR drift car just like I did, and I see a lot of people asking questions about first upgrades. I started driving this thing just a few months ago over at the local drift track, and a bunch of dudes there have these exact cars and they recommended these upgrades to me, and now this thing actually hangs with them on the track. So I still got to learn how to drive it a little bit better, get more consistent obviously, so I can actually do some nice tandems with them consistently throughout the entire track. That's going to come with some seat time, but let me show you what I have done. First of all, upgraded to the remote that I had. Everybody else uses the Futaba. I had the FlySky, so I just used what I got and ended up getting this receiver that has a built-in gyro. I didn't have this one to start out with. I just hooked this up with the regular FlySky receiver for a little bit, and it was decent with the MST gyro. I switched it over to from AVCS mode to regular mode, and that helped me a lot just because I liked it a little bit better. Some people kind of like the AVCS mode a little bit better, it's up to you. But this does not have the AVCS mode on it. So you can see here I have both the electronics stripped here and upgraded the motor and the ESC. And I actually located my RX down here, the receiver down here. I put it down here just because I had everything else on there while I was testing it out, and this ended up driving really nicely right there, so I just haven't changed it. One of the other upgrades that the guys recommended that I do was to put the motor on top. They said that it helps with weight transfer. Everybody else had it up there, so I just left it up there anyways. Didn't really notice too much of a difference, but it did free up this space for me to put my receiver and gyro back here. Alright, the other thing that I had done to this was some guy at the track actually had a spare set of links, adjustable links, and he gave them to me, so shout out to that dude. That was pretty sick. But I put on the adjustable links, and then the adjustable links allowed me to do a couple things. First of all, in the rear, allowed me to adjust the camber. So what I did was I adjusted the camber with fully loaded with a battery in the body, and to the point to where the wheels were sitting nice and flush and flat on the ground. And the other thing that people were recommending that I do is turn this to a drift angle, not exactly full lock because you're not drifting at full lock, you're drifting probably about 80%, and then tune the camber and the toe so that you're actually sitting flat. I'm going to show you guys how I bound these two together. Go to RX set, bind set, use the enhanced RX. That allows you to use the smart vehicle control. You can do all your calibrations in here. Might as well just walk through it real quick. Leave everything alone, automatically calibrate your neutral first, so we don't need any of that. ESP mode, steering gain, so there's your steering gain. I actually have steering gain set up on this right here, so you can see. And this is kind of like a, I think they call these a rotary switch, where you basically has no limit in either direction. And then you can use throttle gain. I don't use throttle gain. The priority is actually an interesting feature. This is what you don't get with the stock gyro on the MST. I actually set priority up on the other rotary switch, whatever that thing's called, so that I can actually adjust it. But what priority does is it kind of changes the pitch center, right? So I'm going to go ahead and turn this off for a second. So let's imagine that when you are sliding out, right? Most cars, when you're sliding out, like the actual cars, like the center of rotation is usually about like right here. But with a stock MST gyro, my center of rotation was like out here, so the car was like swinging like this, right? And everybody else on the track, their center of rotation was right between their front wheels, so they were spinning literally like this, pivoting around that spot. And I saw one guy even had his like back here, it was pivoting like this. No joke, it looked like it was walking around the front tires. So, I mean, you can adjust that with the priority control. And I don't remember how far back I was able to get that center of rotation at, but I know I was able to get it within this range for sure, and it improved the driving of this thing so much. And that's why I set it up on that other rotary switch, so that I can change it as just so I can like figure out where I like it at. So I also put those two values on the home screen. Let me see. Here we go. TR4 and TR3. So I used to use these ones for gyro gain, but the thing is I have different cars that I drive. I have different RC cars that I drive that have different settings on them. So I was driving one car at a different gyro setting, and then I'd switch over this one and start driving. Like, oh, why can't I drive this car again? I was like, oh yeah, I have to adjust this over. So this one actually has a limit on both sides and like a neutral. So that's like minus, neutral, and plus. So these ones don't really have that issue. So if I have this one set at like 40 on one car, and I go over and open the other car, it'll save the last setting that I had it in. And that's why I like using it on those ones. So there's actually a couple of other settings that you can get to and use in the SVC for this gyro. Oh, you also do your gyroscope calibration in here. I'm not going to do it right now because I already have mine set. But you go in advanced, you hit drift cars. It actually has a drift car setting. And you go to custom, and you can change your steering wheel gain, your damper point, damper, and filter. I messed around with these a little bit, and I found that it drove just the way I wanted it to with none of these set up. But I figured that if I really wanted to, I could actually set those up on these dials and then play around with them on the track. I'm probably going to do that next time that I go, just to see if I can actually change the feel a little bit, or tune the feel a little bit better. That's about it, man. That's about it. Look at these tires. I've had these on the track a few times. They look very nice. So clean. The front tires are still kind of breaking in, I think.